Eritrean migrant Gabriel washes his dishes in freedom at his apartment in the Israeli coastal city of Tel Aviv.
I was being persecuted. I was in prison. Also, I was being also to send like for punishment to the army. I was in army for 3 years. It was clear slavery. I'm not working for my country or for my people.
His plight is like that of thousands of Eritrean immigrants, most of them fearing death, as they escape to the North African tunnels. Foreign Policy in Focus, an online newspaper, reports more than 35,000 Eritrean refugees in Israel. According to Reuters news agency, about 6 to 10% of the 6 million nationals are now registered as refugees by the United Nations. Authorities also report that the state has operated a shoot-to-kill policy on its borders to stop people from fleeing.
Cannot just go to the airport and buy a ticket and leave Eritrea. They must leave illegally. And the Eritrean authorities see anyone who left illegally the state as a betrayer, as someone who is in opposition to the regime.
The United Nations Commission said people were still being shot in 2014, although the government says it has ended the policy. In a recent report, the UN says the Eritrean government may be guilty of crimes against humanity, including torture and enforced labor.
It is not surprising to us that these days a large proportion of those crossing the Mediterranean and using other irregular routes to reach Europe are Eritreans. They are fleeing a country ruled not by law, but by fear.
Residents from one of Africa's poorest nations trek thousands of kilometers across Africa to reach the continent's north coast. The UNHCR reports nearly 37,000 Eritreans sought asylum in Europe in the first 10 months of 2014, up from 13,000 in the same period of 2013. According to the report, Eritrea effectively enslaves people by a system known as national service. This involves arbitrary detention, torture, and forced labor. National service is supposed to last 18 months. But the UN reports of witnesses who had fled after 17 years.
The government should discontinue the indefinite national service by limiting it to the statutory 18 months. And it should stop the forced recruitment of children below the age of 18.
But this is not the first time Eritrea human abuses have been disclosed. In 2009, a documentary produced by Camerapix, a production company based in Nairobi, Kenya, revealed how young people not willing to join the military were escaping home. The youth were supposed to work at no pay. In the documentary titled Nation Held Hostage, frustrated Eritreans gave their testimonies.
One day, I found a letter that said the regime had decided all the people working in the construction business should continue to give their service to the government for free. But I said to myself, I'm not a slave. My life belongs to me.
Alula fled his country in 2004 after being imprisoned for speaking out against the regime. But the president defended his regime, blaming the US for misinformation. The Horn of Africa nation has been described as one of the most secretive states in the world, hence the quiet on the atrocities. The media is also restricted here, making it difficult to access the torture information. The only media in the country is compelled to report about government projects. Reporters Without Borders, an international organization protecting journalists, has frequently condemned Eritrea to the bottom of its press freedom index. Eritrea gained its independence from Ethiopia in 1991 after a bloody war of freedom which lasted 30 years. Isaias Afwerki became the country's first president in 1993 with a promise to build a prosperous future. He has been the only president that a majority of Eritreans have known.
I will stay as long as it takes, but that's not my choice. It's not my preference. It has to be decided based on the situation on the ground.
As the president swears to stay on, these Eritreans can only hope that one day, just one day, they will have a reason to go back home.